What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. WBC heavyweight champion Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury. There's only one Tyson Fury. Is in negotiations with WBC interim heavyweight champion, two-time interim heavyweight champion, Dillian, two times Dillian, the Can Man White. The WBC about a week ago ordered or mandated, whatever word you want to use, mandated that the purse split would be 80%, 20% in favor of Tyson Fury. If both sides can't come to an agreement, this is what's stated by the WBC. If both sides can't come to an agreement, that the fight will go to a purse split on January 11th. So we less than a week out. No word of agreement, no word that they're close to an agreement, that they're dotting their I's or they're crossing their T's and the fight is very close to being finalized, none of that. Now, my intel is telling me that they're not close, that progress is slow as far as coming to agreement between Fury and White. This leads me to believe that this fight might not happen. So let me break it down for you. Let me set the stage. My intel is telling me that Team Fury, led by Bob Arum, has offered Dillian Whyte in the neighborhood of $6.5 million. Now, Dillian Whyte is looking for an offer, or he's looking to make this type of money. He's trying to look to make around $10 million. Bob Arum saying that's after 9, after 10, after 11, and after 12. That's crazy. Frank Warren, who's also promotes Tyson Fury, said that Dillian Whyte made $300,000 in this last fight against Povetkin. Now, I find that hard to believe because I know for a fact that he made $1.4 million versus Povetkin in the first fight. So it means to tell me that he took a $1.1 million pay cut in the rematch. I understand there was, we was in the times of a pandemic. We're in a pandemic right now. I know the first fight was in Eddie Hearn's backyard, and I believe the rematch was in Eddie Hearn's backyard. Understand that, but how the first fight he made $1.4 million fighting in Eddie Hearn's backyard, and in the rematch in the same location he makes $300,000. I find that hard to believe. I don't think he made no $300,000, but that's what Frank Warren is saying. I haven't heard Eddie Hearn rebuff that, so maybe it is true, but I find it hard to believe he made $300,000. I don't think he made $1.4 million because he lost, but you got to understand that Eddie Hearn was the lead promoter in the rematch. He represents Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte was still the A-side in the rematch, coming off a loss in the first fight. He was still the he was still the A-side. So how the A-side gonna make $1.4 million in the first fight and make $300,000 in the second fight? I find that hard to believe, ladies and gentlemen. Did he take a pay cut? Yeah, I can see maybe instead of making $1.4 million like he did in the first fight, coming off a loss, maybe he made, $1 million or 1.1, something like that. I can see. 300,000? Nah, I find that hard to believe. That's neither here nor there. He was able to regain his status as the interim heavyweight champion. The WBC later said that the Fury-Wilder winner would have to fight him next. As we know, Fury won the third fight, one of the greatest heavyweight trilogies of all time. Of all time. And now he's in the negotiations with Dillian Whyte. Eddie Hearn, who represents Dillian Whyte. Even though Dillian Whyte is not actually signed to Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn acts like Dillian Whyte is signed to him. He acts like Dillian Whyte is one of his top fighters, which he is. But from what I understand, Dillian Whyte works with Eddie Hearn on a fight-by-fight basis. He's not locked. He's not signed to Eddie Hearn like with a contract. He's not in a multi-fight or multi-year contract with Eddie Hearn. It's on a fight-by-fight basis. But when you are dealing with a fight of this magnitude, you want a guy that's negotiated fights of this magnitude before, and Eddie Hearn has done that. So he's got him representing him. And Eddie Hearn, if he has his way, wants the fight to go to purse bid. Reason being is, if the fight goes to purse bid, he has a very high probability of winning the purse bid, which would enable him to be the lead promoter and put the fight on the zone. Bob Arum is not going to stand for that, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to urge, if that's the case, he's going to urge Tyson Fury to drop the belt and defend his Ring Magazine and lineal heavyweight titles against another opponent. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could play out. Maybe Tyson Fury tells Bob Arum, the hell with that, I'm not finna drop my belt. They're going to say I'm a duck artist and I ain't want no smoke and this, that, and the third. I'll go over there and fight him on the zone and beat the guy, you know, in a one-off, and then come back to ESPN and have my next fight. Bob Arum, who I'm telling you was steamed, very upset when Eddie Hearn promoted Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. He was not happy. You know, he basically was talking about Eddie Hearn in every interview he did in the lead up to that fight, saying Eddie Hearn don't know what he's doing in here in the U.S. Eddie Hearn speaks without thinking. You know, he didn't, and a lot of that was due to the fact that Eddie Hearn won that fight. I mean, not by bad, won the purse bid to that fight. And he staged that fight on Matchroom Boxing and televised it, showed it on the zone. He was not happy about that. Now, that's a fight that's not even on the scale of this fight. This is a big fight. This is the heavyweight division. You know the old saying, as goes the heavyweight division, as goes the sport of boxing. So this is going to be one of the biggest fights in the heavyweight division, one of the biggest fights in UK boxing history. And Bob Arum is going to be highly upset if that fight is staged over there on the zone with Eddie Hearn being the lead promoter. So I think he's going to urge Tyson Fury to drop that belt. With all that being said, if that's the case, Tyson Fury has two opponents that he could fight in March. It'll be non-title fight. It won't be for the WBC title as he dropped that belt, but it'll be for the Ring Magazine heavyweight title. It'll be for his self-proclaimed lineal heavyweight title, which I believe has a lot of merit because he did beat the man, Vladimir Klitschko, so he is the lineal heavyweight champion. He can put those titles on the line versus Luis Ortiz if the fight takes place in the U.S. Now, if the fight takes place in the U.K., I'm hearing Robert Helenius will be the likely opponent. Now, we had previously heard that Andy Ruiz could be a possible opponent for a U.S. fight. But from what I'm hearing, Andy Ruiz is not going to fight Tyson Fury if the WBO, my bad if the WBC heavyweight title is not on the line. I think that's going to be an obstacle. Another obstacle is the PBC is not keen on him fighting Tyson Fury either. They rather Andy Ruiz fight Deontay Wilder in a big late spring, early summer Fox pay-per-view fight. You know, and I think the money that he would make fighting Deontay Wilder on Fox pay-per-view would probably be more than what he would make on fighting Tyson Fury on an ESPN pay-per-view. With all that being said, we have a lot of obstacles in the way of a Tyson Fury Dillian Whyte fight. We will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, another thing that might be scaring off Top Rank as far as the fight go to purse bid is a third party. You remember Triller night? I don't think Triller gonna bid on this fight. I actually think as far as a third party coming in there snatching that fight away from Eddie Hearn or Bob Arum, that chance of that happening is remote. I don't see that happening at all. A very, very slim chance of that happening. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. But you just never know. You just never know. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But that's the latest and the greatest, man, on the negotiations, man. Progress is very slow, man. And if I had to take an educated guess based on what's going on and where this thing is trending toward, it's trending toward the fight going to a purse bid, and Team Fury going to have to make a decision. And I think the decision they're going to ultimately make by the urging of Bob Arum is to drop that belt and fight another opponent. If that's the case, Dillian Whyte will be elevated to full WBC heavyweight champion. He'll be ordered to defend the title against #1 contender in WBC, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. So we'll have those two fights going on. You have Fury versus Helenius or Ortiz. Now, as far as Ortiz go, Ortiz could turn that fight down because Tyson Fury is dead set on fighting in March. As we know, Luis Ortiz just fought in January. That's less than 2 months, since his last fight if he fights in March. Maybe a little over 2 months. Say they fight in late March. That ain't enough time to prepare, man. He just came off a tough fight. He got dropped twice. He's an older fighter. He's going to need more time to prepare for that type of fight. His training camp ain't going to be what it wanted to be as far as having the time to train to fight a guy of the caliber of Tyson Fury. So I don't think he takes that fight. So I'm thinking more than likely he'll take on a Robert Helenius in Manchester in the UK. I think that's the more probable thing. If he fights Luis Ortiz, they're going to have to push that fight back. It's not going to be in March. And I don't think Fury is, at this point in time, is willing to move off the March date. He is the A side, so I don't think the Luis Ortiz fight is probable. I think it's the Robert Helenius is the more likely opponent. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about these negotiations, man, and where you think these negotiations will ultimately end up. Follow me on Twitter, JBsports3303. Hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and share this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.